Hey there, everyone. Welcome to Notes for today, 11.2. Yes, 11.2 is where we're at today. And this is going to be areas of circles and sectors. So let's talk about some vocab. Population density. This is basically the measure of how many people live in a given area. And so what we do is we take the number of people that live in a given area and divide it by the size of that area. Okay. So that means you'll have like 12 people per square mile, all right, something like that. A sector of a circle. So let's go ahead and get to that one now. So, sector of a circle. This is a region bound or made, put bound, by two radii, that's plural for radius, and an arc of a circle. So if I was looking for a sector, here's my circle. Boom, boom. Let's call this maybe A, P, and B. And the sector is this shaded region here. And that is called the sector A, P, B. All right. Moving on. Formula you've known forever. Area of a circle is pi times the radius squared. Probably don't have to go into that very much. Pi times radius squared. Next, we have the area of a sector. It's very similar to when we had the measure of an arc length. So the idea here is we are finding basically a proportion, not proportion, a ratio here of the measure of the arc, okay, not the arc length, but the measure of the arc, so that degree compared to the whole circle, which is 360 degrees. So for example, if I had a 90-degree angle, 90 on a 360 would be 1/4. Well, if that angle is 1/4 of the whole circle, that sector's area should be 1/4 of the entire circle, which is represented as pi r squared. So this is what we're going to have. And with, again, that measure right here is this angle right there. So let's get into actually using some of this stuff. Let's go to area. So finding area, again, we're gonna do a lot of calculator work. We're gonna start off with something that gets you a little bit more thinking. That 5 centimeters is actually our diameter. So remember, to find the radius, our radius is gonna equal our diameter cut in two. So you can say our radius is 5 halves, or you could use 2.5 because it's a terminating decimal. Let's fill in our formula. Area equals pi times the radius squared. So in your calculator, you can put pi times 5 halves, or you can put 2.5 squared. If you're using that fraction, make sure you put it in parentheses. And you can either use 3.14 or you can use the pi button, depending on which version you use. Your answer will be slightly different than mine. But I'm going to put this in my calculator. I'm going to get the area is roughly about 19.63 centimeters squared. Because we're talking area, our units are now squared. For number two, they give us the radius. So I can say area equals pi r squared. And now I'm going to fill in my r, which is 7. So pi times 7 squared is going to give me roughly 153.94. And we'll call that meters squared because our unit here was meters. Word problems dealing with area. So fill in what we know. I'm going to always start off with my formula. Area equals pi r squared. Now it says area of a circle with a diameter of 1.8 inches. Hold up. If my diameter is 1.8 inches, I need to take that and cut it in two to get my radius. So my radius is 0.9. So now I can say area equals pi times 0.9 squared, and that's going to give me about 2.54, and we'll say inches squared. Diameter, that's what we're finding now. We're finding a diameter when the circle has a square feet of 10. So area equals pi r squared. So I'm going to have 10 equals pi r squared. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to divide both sides by pi. When I do that, I'm going to get roughly 3.18 equals my radius squared. At this point, I take that square root. Sorry, that's a really bad looking square root. Square root. And now I get that my radius is roughly 1.78 is my radius. But again, it's asking me for the diameter. So I'm going to take that 1.78 times that by 2, and it's going to give me a diameter that's 3.56 feet. So just be careful when you see radius and diameter. You need to make sure that all of our stuff deals with radius with this formula. And if it gives us diameter, we have to make those conversions. All right, let's go to 5. Now we want to find the radius when we have an area of 65 square centimeters. Again, area equals pi times the radius squared. So I have 65 equals pi times radius squared. Divide both sides by pi. And that's going to give me 20.69 equals my radius squared. At that point, take that square root, and you'll get that your radius is about 4.55, and we'll call that centimeters because we're no longer an area, so we don't have a squared unit. Number 6, the area of a circle with a radius of 6.1 yards. Again, area equals pi r squared. Now they give us the radius, so area equals pi times 6.1 squared. Put all that in the calculator, and you are going to get 116.84 yards squared. Now that I got if I used 3.14 for pi. If I used the pi symbol in my calculator and I rounded to 2 decimal places, I actually got 116.9 yards squared. And that, again, is when I use the pi button in the calculator. So we do know as teachers that there's going to be some wiggle room in our answers depending if you use 3.14 or the pi button. All right, so that's all of our area. Now let's talk about those sectors. So the sector formula said that the area of the sector, so the area of our sector is equal to our angle we're looking at, which is 140 degrees, divided by 360 times 2, not times 2, times pi r squared. So pi times our radius squared. Now, I see everything right here is just numbers. I'm going to put that entire thing in my calculator, and I get the area of my sector. So the area of that sector that's shaded in gray, which is PQR, is equal to 19.55 centimeters squared. Now the problem here is they said find the areas of the sectors, plural, which means now we want to find this area of this white non-shaded sector. So the gray one is 19.55. We want to find the other one. So what we do is we find the area of the circle. So we take the circle minus the shaded area, and we will get the part that's not shaded. So the circle itself is pi times my radius squared, which is roughly 50.27. So if I take 50.27 and subtract the 19.55, I get that is going to be 30.72 centimeters squared. All right, number 8 says find the area of the circle. This time we have This time we have the angle and we have the area of the sector. So the area of the sector, which is 4.1, that was because we had 25 divided by 360 times pi r squared. I want to show you something. Pi r squared, this represents the area of the circle. So if I want, I can sort of treat that as 4.1 equals 25 divided by 360 times the area of my circle. To get the area of my circle by itself, I have to remove this fraction here. To do that, I multiply by the reciprocal. So multiply by 360 over 25. So these cancel. I take 360 over 25 times 4.1, and I get 59.04 equals the area of my circle. And I didn't have to worry about the pi r squared. And that is going to be feet squared here. Now, I could have solved for my radius and then plugged it back into pi r squared. You could do that, but that was more of the simpler, shorter version of that problem. All right, population density. Go back to what I said earlier. The number of people divided by the area that we're looking for. Now we're looking for the whole region is the circle. So the number of people here is 70,000 divided by the area here is pi times my radius here was 30 squared. Shove that whole thing in the calculator and you're going to get 24.76. But because we're talking about people, let's round to the nearest whole person. So we'll say that that is 25 people per square mile. All right, there's your notes. Have any questions, reach out. If not, we'll see you in class or the next video.